All right, welcome to our Wednesday evening service. I'm Richard Marai, subbing in for Reverend Rogers. Hey, you know, I just love this time of year. Doesn't it feel, do they have like a pumpkin thing up there? Did they have it up a minute ago? I just love that. There's something about the fall that just feels so extra cozy and homey and nurturing. There's just something, that's a beautiful picture. I just love fall and everything about it. The Thanksgiving season, and there's just something so excited. World Series. I mean, there's just a lot of great things about the fall. So welcome. Reverend Rogers will be back next week. I've been excited. I've been really enjoying this series from when he started it about going deeper. I mean, he's been doing it for several weeks. I got to do a couple weeks. Next week, he's going deeper into trust. Tonight, we are going deeper into resistance. So I know nobody in here has got any resistance except me, but we're going to go a little bit deeper into resistance. So our opening statement tonight is, I say yes to God, I say yes to life, I say yes to all of my good. So let's just take a deep breath. And with feeling, let's affirm that together. I say yes to God, I say yes to life, I say yes to all my good. Let's take another deep breath. Let's go a little deeper in the way we say it. And let's say like half voice and say it even with more depth and meaning for ourselves together. I say yes to God. I say yes to life. I say yes to all of my good. All right, so let's just close our eyes and open our hearts to God. I invite you just to let go of anything that is distracting your mind, any responsibility or activity, anything that happened before this moment. I invite you to just let it go. And just let your heart and your mind be fully present to this precious moment. Let go of anything that is stopping you from giving God your undivided attention. Let go of anything that's allowing you to feel the fullness of God's peace, the warmth of God's unconditional love, and open your heart to the abundance of life. Instead of saying no to life tonight, we open up and just say yes. We say yes to God. We say yes to peace. We say yes to healing. We say yes to letting go of the past. And we say yes to all the blessings and all the good. We say yes to facing whatever is before us with God's grace. We say yes to allowing our souls to be lifted and elevated to a higher place, to truly fulfill the will, to say yes to fulfill the will of God for each and every one of us. For it truly is the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom if we just open our hearts to receive and just say yes. So for the gift of life, for the blessing of this day, and especially for this time that we get to be together tonight, we truly give thanks through the name and the power of the indwelling Christ Spirit. And so it is. Amen. So, buddy, this church has a mission. We are on a mission from God. And if you choose to accept that mission, you will say it with conviction and passion as it appears magically on the screen behind me. Because it isn't just the mission for the ministers or the staff or the board. It's our mission as a community. This is what we stand for as a ministry. So let us affirm our mission together with feeling. Unity of Phoenix is a loving spiritual community that welcomes all people and honors all paths to God. We are dedicated to transforming lives by inspiring and awakening individuals to discover God's Spirit within them. Yep. And that's what we're here for. We truly believe the kingdom of God is within us. You know, that Spirit of God is in us, and that we, through our prayer, through the power of our words, our thoughts, and our actions, that we can bring forth the glory of God and to live a blessed life and truly experience the kingdom of heaven right here and now. So thank you all so much for being here. So now we can let all that stuff go, and we're going to enter a time of prayer and meditation. So I invite you to get comfortable and relaxed. And Cerise is going to lead us in singing Surely the Presence.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can feel
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. And as you close your eyes, I invite you to open your heart. And I invite you to go to that place deep within you where you feel God's peace. Where you feel the peace of God that surpasses all human understanding. That peace that reassures us that we are never alone. That in this moment and every moment that God is right here and now, loving you, guiding you, and providing you with all that you need to live life and live it more abundantly. With all that you need to handle what is before you with ease and grace. With all that you need to express and to attract and create the life that you are seeking and desiring to live. You know, Jesus said, it is the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. And that means that God does not withhold anything from us. That God delights and desires to express more life, more love, more good in and through us to the extent that we are willing to open our hearts and open our lives. And in the Psalms it is written, be still and know that I am God. And one of the most profound and powerful things we could ever do is just to be still and open our hearts to allow God to heal what needs to be healed, to release what needs to be released, and reveal what needs to be revealed. So we can experience the fullness of the kingdom of heaven that God is calling us to live, and to become and express fully the amazing spiritual beings that God has called us all here to be. So for the next few moments, I invite you just to surrender your heart fully to God. Let God minister to your life in exactly the way that you need it, to open you, to heal you, and to express more of his life and love and goodness through you. Be still and know that I am God. Peace. Be still. And now that we've allowed God to minister to our hearts, let's now turn our thoughts and prayers to our loved ones. If you have a family member or a friend, a neighbor or a co-worker in need of healing or guidance, I invite you just to bring them into your heart right now. We also bring into our heart all the prayer requests that have come into our ministry. For each of these beloved souls, we just affirm the truth that each of these individuals are God's beloved children, and it truly is God's will and desire that each of them experience all of the abundance and goodness they are seeking and so much more. We affirm right now for each of these souls that the healing and miracle working power of God is bringing forth the right answers, the right order, the right outcomes and results in their lives and in their situation, to bless not only them, but to bless everyone involved. For we know with God there's enough good for every one of us. But it's God's will and desire that we all experience a life of peace and joy and love. So we affirm this great truth for all of them, for everyone in our country, for everyone in our world, for we are all the children of God. And we are all worthy and deserving of God's abundance and goodness. So as we leave this time of meditation, I invite you to remember the feeling you're feeling right now. And just know that that same feeling of peace, that feeling of connection and oneness, that very feeling is only a breath away. For God is truly closer to us than our hands and feet, and nearer than our very breath. And so it is. Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will is done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. You forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. You lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory Can't help it, God makes me wanna sing. I can't help it, God makes me wanna sing. Makes me feel so good, I could do most anything. I can't help it, God makes me wanna sing. I can't help it, God makes me wanna sing. Makes me feel so good, I could do most anything. Now I'm loving every living thing. I can see the face of God in paupers and kings. We're all precious, no one less or more, and we've all got the same treasures in store. That's why I'm loving every living thing. can't help it. God makes me want to sing. I can't help it. God makes me want to sing. Makes me feel so good. I could do most anything. Now I'm believing in my guiding light. No matter what comes, I know it'll turn out right. I just dig right down to how I feel. Take a deep breath and I grab the wheel. I'm believing in my guiding light. I can't help it. God makes me want to sing. I can't help it. God makes me want to sing. Makes me feel so good. I could do most anything. Now I'm rising to a higher place. I got the wind at my back. There's a smile upon my face. And I'm living my dreams a little more each day, and it keeps getting easier to find my way. I'm rising to a higher place. I can't help it. God makes me want to sing. I can't help it. God makes me want to sing. Makes me feel so good. I could do most anything. I can't help it. God makes me want to sing. I can't help it. God makes me want to sing. Makes me feel so good. I could do most anything. Makes me feel so good. I could do most anything. Makes me feel so good. I could do most anything. Yeah.
Cerise, I think I can say on all behalf, we are so glad God makes you sing because we are so blessed by it. Thank you so much. Great job. Thank you, guys. Great job. All right. So how many people love it when life is just going all your way? Doesn't that feel good? I mean, when you got your groove on, when your mojo's working, I mean, when things are just clicking and going along and going so well. Everything you touches turns to gold. Every day is a great hair day. I mean, doesn't it feel good? Doesn't it feel good when life's just going your way? You know, I think when life's going our way, we all love life. We love the world. We love all people. When things are going our way, we feel joyful. We feel alive. We feel fulfilled. We feel spiritually connected. But compare that with how you feel when life isn't going your way, when nothing's clicking, when nothing's working, when you lost your mojo, when every day feels like a bad hair day. How do you feel when life isn't going your way? How many people would say that you got something in your life that isn't working as well as you'd like it to? How many people would say you got maybe more than one thing that, okay. You know, I'm absolutely convinced that the number one skill, if not one of the most important skills in life, to feel joyful, to feel fulfilled, to feel spiritually connected, is to learn how to handle life when it's not going our way. You know, when situations and circumstances and people show up in our lives that we don't like, that we don't want, that don't make us feel good, our reaction tends to be, universally, is that we resist it. We fight against it. We hate it. We complain about it. We spend time fretting and wishing it wasn't that way and wanting it to be something other than it is. You know, for any of us, when we're experiencing discomfort or frustration or unhappiness in our lives, it is usually because there's something in our lives that we're resisting. I would easily say that resistance is one of the number one things that causes and creates more frustration, more unhappiness, and more unnecessary suffering than anything else in our lives. And our resistance blocks, it creates tension. You know, it creates stress. You know, it has us fight, and it really begins to repel the very good things that we're seeking. You know, the more that we resist, we're actually giving more energy to the kind of feelings and circumstances that we absolutely don't want at all in our lives. I think everyone has probably heard that famous quote by Carl Jung, "What you resist persists." In fact, Jung actually went a little further. He didn't just say, "What you resist persists." He says, "What you resist will expand." Because he got the law of attraction. He got that your energy flows where your attention goes. And if our attention is resisting and things we don't like, we tend to attract, and it tends to increase in our lives. So a big question for us to all ask ourselves is, why do we resist so many things in life? Why do we resist? And so here are some reasons. The first one, I think, is that we have a false or erroneous belief that life should or is supposed to go our way all the time. Now, we think it, we believe it, we expect it, but no one would ever admit it. You know, we like to think we're higher evolved than that, but the truth is, I think at a deep level, every one of us has an idea of how we think life should be, how people should act, how things should go, what's fair and what's unfair, what's right and wrong, and what's better or worse. We have that. And there's nothing wrong with having some opinions and preferences, but we take that belief and we become very rigid with it to the point that we say life has to be just this way. And we go even further with it. We say that life has to be this way for me to be happy. And if it isn't that way, then I am not happy, or I won't allow myself to be happy. You know, this idea that life should be our way and go our way all the time is one of the most unhealthy, unrealistic mindsets we can have. It is a mindset built for frustration and disappointment. You know, Jesus said, in this life there will be trials and tribulations. He said it pretty clearly. And he also said, but be of good cheer. So what he's saying is that sometimes life won't go your way, but that's okay. You can still be happy. You can still be joyful. You can still feel a spiritual connection. Okay, second thing, the reason I think we resist a lot is that we have a fear of change, a fear of the unknown. You know, when change comes, the unknown comes, we feel a little insecure. We feel unsafe. We feel like we're losing control when things change. You know, we feel like, you know, maybe it'll get worse. Will I be safe? Will I be okay? Will it really work out for me? You know, when we resist, you know, at some level, I think we're protecting ourselves. You know, the more we resist, we think the safer we'll be, and it's actually the exact opposite. One thing that always fascinates me is that how human beings fear change, and there's a fear of the unknown. Don't we always say that? There's a fear of the unknown? And my question is, why do we assume the unknown is bad? Really, isn't that? When you hear the unknown, it's like, oh, that's scary. It's like, why? Isn't it even more likely that it could be a really good outcome? So why is it that we always jump to that conclusion that that the unknown is bad, or that something difficult or poor will happen? Okay, so the last thing, reason I think we resist change, and I'll just be blunt and honest, is I think we're lazy. We are intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually lazy. Because if one of the things we don't like, we just don't like change. The reason we don't like change is because we will have to change. That's why we don't like change. Because change requires us to grow and stretch and to maybe think in different ways and act in different ways and look at life in different ways. And sometimes we don't want to do that hard work. We don't want to do that inner work. I will tell you, I will say out loud sometimes, God, you know, I don't want to grow today. I just don't feel like expanding spiritually today. Can I just have a day off from that? Can we just have like a dull day, a status quo day? Don't you ever feel like that? I mean, every one of us, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, wants the best outcome for the least amount of work. How many people, golf fans, everybody know Gary Player? You've heard of Gary Player, the great Gary Player? Gary Player is 77 years old. Unbelievable, incredible shape. He actually just posed nude for the ESPN magazine. More information you want to know. But here's the thing. Bad boy's in amazing shape. Amazing shape. I watched him in an interview the other day, and they're just in awe of him at Sports Center. They're just like, wow, you're in such great shape at 77. What do you do? How do you do it? You know, well, I only eat green vegetables. I drink green drinks all day. I take vitamins. I do 1,000 sit-up. I do 250 push-ups. I run 5 miles. And I could see the guy saying, oh. You know, we always want to know the secret, why they're looking so good, but we get disappointed when we found out it was hard work. You know, isn't that crazy? So everybody, at some level is resisting life. Partly because we think at some level it should go our way all the time. Partly because, we're afraid of change, and change does scare us and make us a bit uneasy. And a part of it is sometimes we don't really want to do the work. We want the results, but not the work. Every one of us resists. It's just a normal human thing. I think it triggers at some level of our human survival mechanism. But the fact is, the reality is that resistance is actually a choice. And that we can choose not to resist. See, we can choose to resist and let it persist and expand, or we can choose non-resistance. We can choose a different path of how to handle life when life isn't going our way, in a way that will have us move through it with more ease and grace and actually uplift us and bring forth even greater blessings. Jesus taught the law of non-resistance. And it's in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 38. There's a whole bunch to it, but I'm just going to share this part with you and kind of explain what it means, because sometimes it's easy to get confused. It says, you have heard it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth, but I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. Is that what that says? Okay, fabulous. When you read that scripture, it sounds like ridiculous, doesn't it? Someone slaps you on the right cheek, turn and offer them the left? It sounds like Jesus is saying, be a doormat. And I'm thinking, that's not cool, Jesus. I resist that. But let's go a little deeper, because in that same, just a couple of verses before, Jesus says, and we take that so literally, but Jesus actually says these words. He says, if your right eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out and cast it from thee. And if your right hand makes you stumble, cut it off and cast it away from thee. Now, clearly, when we hear that, we realize Jesus isn't talking about poking out your eye and cutting off your hand. And yet, when we hear turn the other cheek, we think he means be a doormat and literally do it. What Jesus is saying here is something very profound and deep. He's saying when you get triggered by things in life that make you feel resistance, that makes you feel resistance, that what you need to do is turn the other cheek. And what he really means is to turn away from your human reaction, the part that wants to resist and hate, and complain. Turn to that place of peace where you don't resist. To that place where you are willing to accept and embrace, that place where you are willing to allow that situation to move forward and to handle it with love, to handle it with grace, to handle it spiritually. That's what Jesus is talking about. Turn the other cheek means to turn from your human reactive nature and turn to your spiritual nature. That is what he is talking about. That when we are non-resistant, and I'll explain a little more how we do it. When we're non-resistant, what we do is we actually open a path for healing. We open a path to resist. We open a path to a more fulfilling experience of life where we actually welcome all of the experiences of life and have it uplift us rather than resist it and close ourselves off to so much good. So here are the three things I want to focus on to show how we can practice non-resistance. The first thing is we need to acknowledge it. Catherine Ponder once said, until you face it with grace, it'll always show up in your face. And what she's saying is that so many times there are things that we resist, that we ignore, that we know we need to deal with, that we try to run and hide from it, but the spiritual reality is you can't run and hide from it. One of the greatest signs that what resists persists is this phrase, and you might have said it once in your life. Why is this happening to me again? Anybody ever say that? How come the same stuff keeps coming up? Why do I keep struggling with the same stuff? Why does the same kind of people keep showing up in my life? So one of the things about that is that awareness is one of the things that begins to liberate us and open us up, to heal and transform it, to just be aware that we're resisting, because sometimes we aren't aware. Clearly, if we are asking, why is this happening to me again, we haven't quite connected all the dots. So beginning to just be aware is a really, really important thing. And one of the ways to start that is just asking ourselves a few simple questions. Where in my life am I resisting? Where in my life am I hating how the situation is? Where in my life am I investing way too much time in thinking, this should be different? Where in my life am I not acknowledging or not willing to even face what's really going on inside of me? And the important thing about acknowledging is that you acknowledge the resistance and you also acknowledge that God is greater than that resistance. Let me take you to a scripture in the book of John where it says, you, dear children, are from God and have overcome them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. So what we do is we acknowledge the resistance we have, but we also acknowledge that God is greater. And what we do is we acknowledge it, and then we deny that it has any real power over our lives, that God has a greater power. So what we would do is when we feel that resistance, we just say, I acknowledge that I'm feeling resistance, and I also acknowledge that God is greater than this. I acknowledge my fear, but I also acknowledge that this fear has no power over me. And it sounds really simple, but I guarantee you awareness is the very first step to being liberated from the different negative patterns and limiting beliefs and resistance that we often hold. Again, if we really acknowledged it, we wouldn't be saying, why is this happening to me again? That we need to begin to recognize when it's happening again. And the more we recognize it, the more it'll be liberated. But acknowledgement isn't enough. We got to go a little deeper. So the next step is acceptance. One thing to acknowledge, a whole nother level to accept it. Resistance closes us off. Acceptance opens us up. Let me read you something from Alcoholics Anonymous, big book. It says, acceptance is the answer to all of my problems today. When I'm disturbed, it is because I find some person, place or thing or situation, some fact of my life that is unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing or situation as being exactly the way it's supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing, happens in God's world by mistake. Until I accepted my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Until I accepted life completely on its term, I could not be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as what needs to be changed in me and in my attitudes. One of the things I find about acceptance, in some ways we think that's like giving up, or acceptance is weak. But I will tell you, acceptance is one of the things that takes a lot of spiritual strength. That to accept isn't to give up. It is just to drop all of the resistance and inner tension we create. I saw this Star Trek episode once. I'm not a Trekkie, so I don't know all the lingo, but here's what it was. So there was a situation where one of their people who didn't like them, enemies or whatever they call them, they had a situation where Captain Kirk's men, the Enterprise guys, were getting kind of attacked. And then Captain Kirk was trying to run to them, and he ran into this like invisible glass thing. And then he kept trying to run, and the harder he tried, he couldn't get through. And then Spock said, "Captain." And he basically said, what that is your own resistance. You can't get, the reason you can't get through is because you have so much resistance. So what you need to do is lower that inner screen of resistance, and you'll be able to move forward. So the captain's trying to lower it, and then after a bit, he's able to just lower the screen of resistance, or basically accept that the situation was the way it was, and then he was able to move forward. You know, acceptance is a choice. That we literally could look at a thing we're resisting right now, not only acknowledge it, but we could lower our resistance and just come into a place of acceptance. This is the way it's supposed to be right now. And me fighting it isn't going to make anything good. In fact, me accepting it is actually going to open up my resources, because we use a lot of resources resisting. When we lower the resistance, it actually frees up our energy, our creativity, our insight and wisdom to come forth. And more than anything, it gives us peace in the moment. And sometimes we try to force things to change. It just can't change. And all the wishing and hating and complaining in the world isn't going to do it. But acceptance, it can bring an amazing, amazing sense of peace. So are you willing to accept whatever it is you're resisting? Acknowledge it and accept it. And free and liberate yourself from all the extra energies that you've been using, and allowing God to use those energies to handle it with grace and ease. So acknowledge, accept, and you go a little deeper. Deeper than acceptance is to embrace. Because acceptance drops the tension and the resistance and energy, but embrace begins to open it with feeling. Like it opens up your attitude. You know, it opens up even more to embrace whatever it is. Because the truth and the reality is nothing happens in our life without a reason. That everything you're facing, think of the thing you're facing right now that's the most challenging. I guarantee you, it is a lesson for you to learn. It is an opportunity for a heal. It is for you to gain greater insight and wisdom and open you up to a fuller and richer experience of life. We often like to run from these things, but the fact is when we face it and deal with it, you know, acknowledging, accepting, and embracing it, it will not only dissolve, but it will literally lift us and transform us. You know, there's a story, remember with Joseph with his brothers, how they, threw him in a pit, left him for dead, and he was sold into slavery and thrown in prison, and da-da-da-da. And then, of course, eventually, because he was interpreting dreams in prison, he was brought to the king, and eventually he became governor of Egypt. And I love the line. It said, man meant it for man meant it for bad, but God meant it for good. And so that's an important thing for us to remember, is that whatever you think is there in your life, obstacle, what thing you're resisting and hating and wanting to run from, guess what? God means it for good. That there is a gift, there is something in there to liberate you, to open you, to transform you. And the question, are you willing to embrace it? A couple of weeks ago, I shared some information about these studies in stress, and I just want to share it again, because our attitude towards resistance, can have a huge transformational impact on us. So here are some studies about stress. They did a study with 30,000 people over an 8-year period, and what they did was they asked them 2 questions. Number one is, did you have a very stressful year last year? And the second question is, do you believe that stress is harmful for you? Well, do you know the people who said that they had a very stressful year were 43% more likely to die or have a heart attack, but only if they also believed that stress was harmful for them. Is that if they had high stress but didn't think that stress was harmful for them, they weren't any more likely than anyone else to have any heart problems. In fact, it was even lower than people who said they had low stress but believed that stress was harmful. So the belief that stress was harmful actually had more impact than how much stress how stress actually affected their lives. And let's go to the next study that they did. They did a stress study where they had two groups of people, one who did an average thing and the other one who did one with some information. And what everybody had to do was they had to do something stressful, which was to get up and give a spontaneous speech to a group who was already coached to yawn, act bored, and look totally disinterested. You can imagine how stressful that is. But one group were just told their heart rates went up, their breathing went up, and typically their veins constricted. They constricted. Well, the other group was told, hey, when you think about stress, think how good it is, because stress is good, because when the body's heart rate and breathing goes up, the heart rate goes up to prepare you, because your body loves you so much, it wants to support you. And when your breathing gets higher, it's because it wants to put more oxygen in you so you can handle this really well. So that response is really a positive, healthy, good thing. And so they do the very same thing, and their heart rates go up, and their breathing goes up. But interestingly, their veins and their arteries didn't constrict. That even though all the other outer signs of the stress and discomfort were there, the internal sign actually didn't go there at all. In fact, the open arteries and vessels were actually mimicked the experience of joy or courage. Isn't that interesting? So the point I'm trying to make is when we resist stress, stress will create difficulty in our lives. But when we're non-resistant to it and have a positive attitude and embrace it, it actually has less of an impact. And again, whatever it is you're resisting, that it will push against you. But when you embrace it, even when it's uncomfortable, it will have less of an impact. Your attitude absolutely makes a difference. Somebody think of something you're resisting in your life right now. And I just want you to say, God means this for good. Let's think about that. God means this for good. Let's say it halfway together. God means this for good. This situation will bless my life. Together. This situation will bless my life. Deep breath. The fact is, in life, we have two choices. You can resist and fight against what isn't working in your life, or you can acknowledge, you can accept, and you can embrace it. And I guarantee you, it'll lift you in amazing ways. To me, resistance says no, and non-resistance says yes. Non-resistance basically says, today I choose not to struggle against my life, not to struggle against my circumstances. Today I allow things just to happen. And by doing this, I open myself to grow. I open myself to expand. I open myself to even greater blessings. Today, I say yes to God. I say yes to life. I say yes to all of my good. And I'll tell you, there's Bhagwan Rajneesh calls it the sacred yes. What every one of us wants to get to is the sacred yes. When we look at all of life and we just say yes. We open ourselves to it, we welcome it, we accept it, we embrace it, and we allow all the gifts and the experiences God's brought into our lives to lift up our souls to a higher and more amazing experience. Say yes. So let's say that together. Let's say our opening statement again together. Right there, everybody. I say yes to God. I say yes to life. I say yes to all of my good. Everybody, let's take a deep breath and close with prayer. And so, Spirit, we just open our hearts just to allow ourselves to receive and face with grace all that is before us. We open ourselves to acknowledge, to accept, and embrace all of the blessings, all of the experiences, all of the opportunities, all of the lessons, all of the ways that you are calling us to grow and expand, to experience the fullness of life, and to have us go deeper into our souls, deeper into who you've called us here to be and deeper, into the life and the gifts you have called us to express. So we just say yes. We say yes to life. We say yes to you, God. And we say yes to all of the experiences and all of the good that you have available for us. And so it is. Amen. us. So everybody, let's rise. Thanks everyone for being here. Let's rise as we close with our song of peace.
Walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace. Eternally, let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And now a prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. God bless everybody. Good day and a wonderful week. Wonderful rest of your week.